seated. I request everyone, please be seated. Moving ahead with our panel 2 discussion on the topic, tokenization in real estate, bridging emerging technology, financial innovation, and legal framework. For this panel, I invite our experts and moderator. Our moderator for this session, Ms. Jyoti Tandon, compliance consultant and co-founder FinCrimeExpert. And our panelist, Mr. Manish Kumar, co-founder and CEO RealX, Mr. Anand Narayanan, founder AltDRX, Mr. Anil Choudhary, partner Finsec Law Advisor, and Mr. Prasanth Kalangi, founder and CEO Zoniqx. Speakers, please on the dais, please. Over to you, Ms. Tandon. Thank you.
I was very, pleased to be requested to moderate this panel discussion. As always, BCCI has done a wonderful job in terms of curating this program because it started with a seasoned regulator and then a current regulator's perspective in terms of, taking us through how the regulations have evolved. And of course, the last panel, very engaging in terms of talking about REITs as an asset class. So I think I'm really privileged to have a very seasoned and experienced panel here. Three of them are, running their businesses, and then you cannot forget the lawyer there. So you have to talk about regulations as well. So I think we are hoping to give you a good flavor in terms of what's happening in this space from an India perspective, and then also share, because some of our, my panel co-panelists are, in fact, having experience of operating in this space in other jurisdictions, so they can even give a perspective of how they're seeing it evolve in other jurisdictions, and then touch upon the legal and the, regulatory aspects. And then we'll be open for questions as well in the end. So with that, may I just kind of come to my co-panelists and start, with you, Prasanth, to just maybe give us an elevator pitch in terms of talking about your organization and what you're doing in that space, how you are seeing tokenization evolve.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good break. Thank you for the enlightening panel, the first one, and also the keynote speech. I thoroughly enjoyed, and also Mr. Rao's clarity in terms of providing the India's stance on tokenization. I think I learned quite a lot today. So my name is Prasanth. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Zoniqx. We are based in Silicon Valley, California, but we operate in 5 countries now, meaning in terms of asset tokenization. So we are a fintech platform, started developing in 2017, and we went into commercialization in 2021. So we are asset agnostic, meaning we focus on multiple asset categories. We started with commercial real estate in Houston, Texas, and some parts of Miami in Florida. And then from there, we went to infrastructure assets. Right now, we're doing data centers and green energy as well, and some mining assets. So essentially, we see the tokenization space right from legal structuring to the secondary trading and the lending and borrowing of a token. The entire life cycle of a token is structured by us, built by us from a technology point of view, in working closely with the regulators of that particular local jurisdiction. So we are in US, Germany, and UAE markets right now. So, and then India, we've been closely studying and working because our back-end technology department is in India, and all our engineers are based in India. So we have very close connections with the Indian market because of that. And one of our clients is also in the sandbox of IFSCA. They're understanding the IFSCA regulations and everything. So I'm happy to share my thoughts from overall perspective, and also keen to learn from other panelists as well. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Prasanth. May I request you next, Anand? No, yeah.
Well, thank you, Jyoti, and lovely being here. So my name is Anand. I run our residential real estate tokenization platform called AltDRX. So we've been at this now for about 2.5 years. We're processing about 100,000 pay-in transactions per annum run rate. So the traction has been reasonable. Our fundamental product is we look at the way customers invest in real estate. You know, when you and I choose to buy real estate, we'll say, all right, let's buy something in Bangalore. Let's buy something in, you know, Lonavala, you know. So our idea is to launch a Lonavala token, an Alibag token, a Bangalore token, an Ayodhya token, you know. Each of those tokens are backed by completed residential asset basket. That small basket becomes like a sample of that city, and that becomes a way for people to come and buy, you know. So today, that's the marketplace that we have created, so people can both buy and sell on the platform. Yeah, so that's, happy to chat more on that.
Thank you so much. And Manish, next.
Hi everyone, I am co-founder and CEO of RealX. We are a platform for fractional ownership of properties, as anyone can guess. And coming from India, I think one thing that we proudly share is we are the only one in the world to have established direct legal rights on property encapsulated inside blockchain tokens. So, you know, while for us we do have a tokenized way of also purchasing properties or co-investing in properties, what we sell is not essentially a baseless token. What we sell is a direct right on properties. Now, this took us, you know, quite a while to launch, and in this time, some of the players did move ahead. But I think it's time that we are gaining ground, and yeah, we did one of the first large, decent-sized commercial transactions last year for a plot in Ayodhya, where 150 plus investors invested, and I think that's kind of a record where 50 lakhs was invested, which surprised us as well. 50 lakhs was invested to be, you know, to become a participant in the tokenized form, and you know, so yeah, we've been in the trenches most of the time, not seen, not heard. Not talked about as much as we should be.
So definitely, I think this is a very evolving space, and probably that's the reason why we are all here, and very happy to see like a full house. So everybody's interested in listening to what are the opportunities here. Huge in terms of what we're doing in India, and none of our products can really be without the digitization aspect, and that's really where tokenization kind of comes in with the blockchain technology on which it's going to be based. So whilst, you know, obviously we will come to the lawyer on the panel as well, but just to continue the question from that perspective, may I just request then, Manish, you to touch upon that a question, right, for you is that does tokenization complement REITs, or, you know, how is it going to position itself in that bucket? Because we did have a lot of, you know, discussions in the earlier panel on that.
Yeah, we need to kind of deconstruct the earlier panel as well, so that there's a fresh breath of air into this panel. Before we go there, I'll take a little liberty to say, and with all due respect to you know, our regulator also being here, unregulated is not always lesser built. You know, that probably should never be a connotation that something that is not regulated is not built well. I think that kind of goes as a surreptitious understanding. Unregulated is not yet regulated, and therefore it's an innovative new product. The regulation will only come in once the product has market acceptance. That does not mean that the product itself might have been built with, you know, lesser guardrails, or you know, it would be worse than a regulated product. So that's the first, you know, undertone that I would like to kind of begin with. Now coming back to the subject of REITs versus tokenization, first things first, REIT is an amazing product. So let's, you know, let's baseline commit to that REIT. If I was investing, I also will buy some REITs. I wouldn't go, whole hog into tokenization. Tokenization is a tool that enables people to participate. As I say most of the time, we enable our investors to buy in parts what they could have anyway bought in full. So consider, there was a time when Noida investors lost a lot of money. Whole block, of investors lost money for a decade or so. And, a lot of people had a very negative, feeling on real estate per se. Now, you can save that from happening if you enable people to diversify their risk into chosen properties through digitally investing in a portfolio, approach. That is what, the fractional ownership, solution provides. And it enables you, or probably dissuades you to take the full risk on a property, with all the money, put into one large asset. That is what we kind of give a paradigm change to. We don't give a paradigm change to our competition to REITs or if I may say, regulated products. I think what we are trying to bring in is a better way to invest in properties should you anyway decide to invest. So that's the real comparison, if I have to say that. While, as Pramod also said, behind a REIT, there's a institutional approach, there's a pooling, there's a fund manager, and trust me, with that pool, that much pool, you can negotiate way better. So you can provide certain returns only because you are a larger player. Something that probably we as a platform on a deal-to-deal basis cannot do. Or you as an investor investing and negotiating directly in a property definitely cannot get. So that's the grading. So each has their own advantages. We really don't, consider an investor. I think whenever you talk to an investor who knows REIT also, they wouldn't classify REIT into and compare it that if I have invested in REIT, अब मैं घर नहीं खरीदूंगा. मैं तो अभी भी घर खरीदूंगा. So we probably dissuade him from buying that house or that property investment in full, and probably do it, in a digital way with, a range of assets that we can display to them.
Potentially, that's how it would evolve, because at this stage, like we were saying earlier, it's another asset class. So even this becomes another asset class, which is, giving a smaller.
Jyoti, I want to just add a little thing to what Manish said. The perspective on being unregulated. It gives me great nights of sleepless nights. Because I'm unregulated. Okay, being unregulated means. Does not mean that you have to, the difference is intent, right? The intent of an innovative product is to somehow ensure that you get regulated. We have to ensure, like for example, we were one of the first asset tokenization platforms to get into a sandbox of IFSCA, we didn't stop there. We said, okay, let's see how regulations go outside India. We went and said, okay, we will get ourselves into the sandbox of Qatar Financial Center. And many people ask me, Anand, why did you choose Qatar over Dubai? Isn't Dubai a natural place for you to go and tokenize? I'm just talking about intent here, right? Because you have to see that because you're unregulated, you have to be holier than Caesar's wife, right? So you have to do things extremely cautiously. You have to be doing things very responsibly. The only reason why we didn't go to Dubai is that Dubai, the regulator who will eventually license me in Dubai is the same guy who regulates crypto also. Okay. We went to Qatar because Qatar, like Indian regulator, does not want crypto. You can be in blockchain-based tokens, but the settlement has to happen in fiat. Very similar to India. So just to add, that piece that being unregulated does not give us, me, Manish, any leeway to go Be forthcoming to the regulators. Wherever there is an opportunity to go and say, listen, Mr. Regulator, this is what we do, I think we should do it, is what I wanted to say.
In fact, it makes our job a lot more difficult. For example, we have the burden of ensuring that PMLA-wise, KYC is done and things like that, but we don't have the access to CERSAI. So we don't have access to so many other things, and we have to, explain ourselves so much more. It sometimes is very punishing that why are we doing it in India? You understand, it's kind of, as entrepreneur to entrepreneur, ecosystems wise, there is much more reward to do innovation elsewhere should you succeed. Even if you succeed here, I don't think, we look forward to something like that as reward. We must, in some sense, have a right to come under regulation, someday.
Just to add on the REIT and tokenization, many people ask us also, what's the difference? Why are you not a REIT? Why are you doing asset tokenization? REIT, according to me, is a product. It's a product that operates within traditional securities market environment, right? Tokenization is a market. It is not a product. It is the market where tokens are available, people can register, people can do KYC, people can buy, people can trade, transactions can get settled, So the difference is that tokenization is an alternate marketplace, right? Now the question is, because it's an alternate marketplace, it cannot be used for, in my opinion, cannot be used as a regulatory arbitrage. Let me not become a stockbroker, let me tokenize Reliance shares and sell it in this thing. I don't think that should be the objective. But if the objective is to find out products that are traditionally not available in securities market, can I bring them into alternate market? Let's say, for example, that's Resi. Resi is the largest asset class in the world. It's larger than stocks, bonds, gold, sovereign issuances, everything else. But the common man can't buy Resi. 100 million people participate in equity markets. Not even 1 million participate in Resi, right? Construction equipment. Imagine the kind of assets that are there in construction equipment. All of them are leased. You can't buy construction equipment in capital markets. You can't buy Lonavala real estate in capital markets. So I believe tokenization as a marketplace will have to bring in alternate assets which are not traditionally available in capital markets. It's an alternate marketplace for alternate assets. I would go on to say that ideally these should be small-sized assets because the tokenization market is not deep, it is shallow. So I don't think $1 billion asset is right for a tokenization market. But a 100 crore asset is great for tokenization because it's nimble enough to go in there and tokenize. Whereas going into a traditional securities market means that you have to climb far greater walls of security, walls of compliance to get in there. So I think that's the difference between REIT is a product, tokenization is a marketplace.
Great. Thanks a lot. That kind of sets the stage very well for me, Prashant. Maybe since we have, the three of you all who are really the experts on this space, could you simplify it for us and tell us that what is really tokenization?
Yeah, so if you see, tokenization has been there for a long time in a different construct, right? So today you are dealing with UPI payments day in, day out. That's a token behind it, okay? So in a way that people might think it's an identity token and a compliance token and a payment token that gets generated as an example, right? So it's essentially a digital representation on a ledger that can be exposed publicly, kept privately, and monitored in a hybrid way of an underlying asset following the compliance, the policies and the regulations of that particular asset jurisdiction where it is there, and allows people to start buying of that particular token in a most transparent, trustworthy process, bringing the pricing aspects of it, market aspects of it 24/7 across the globe, and that's the primary part of that. And once you buy that, you can have a hold period on it, as in US SEC, we have Reg D structures where the investor must hold for 12 months before they start trading. Depends on the structure and the regulation. And in Dubai, under WARA, there's a company called Pripco, which is a Damax company. I think most of the people here might have known that. They sold 2 apartments in just like small amount of time. So you can literally trade that. And then once it is done, I want to amplify the point or stress on the point that Manish and Anand have spoken. The difference between REIT and this one, right? So REIT, you get into it, whether it's SM REIT or a big REIT, the big brother or the small one. And after that, then you can exit that, which is fine. But you cannot use that and borrow money against it as a collateral today, if subject to correction in India. Right? But tokens, you can start actually collateralizing. You can borrow money against it. So I'll give you a small example, right? The on-chain finance, I think Anand was saying it's not crypto and everything. So there is a new act in US that's passed. It's called Genius Stablecoins Act. That was passed just like a week ago. And it is a beginning of a phenomenal disruption in this way of investing and managing and trading assets backed by that. So this one will give you the ability, the on-chain finance is what we call, because it's on a blockchain. Technically, this whole thing is on a blockchain. There are multiple blockchains in the world, but India has got, I think, is launching something called Vajra blockchain, if I'm right. So India is also looking into it at a macro perspective. I'm not talking about specific to real estate, even though it's a real estate forum here. And then, so this on-chain finance in 2008, it's about like less than $100 million. Today it's $4 trillion. Okay? And then it's going to go to $40 trillion by 2032 as per BCG. And we are also part of the BCG report. If you see the latest BCG report, Zoniqx is also part of that. We have spoken at length about this whole thing. So this digital on-chain finance revolution is inevitable. It's not about if, it's about when. Right? Whether we want to catch up with it, if we don't want to catch up and be on the sidelines, it's up to us. But this is a real groundbreaking opportunity for everyone to start like looking this seriously. We started in 2017. People literally laughed at us. What the hell are you talking about? What is the real world asset? What is the tokenization? Why should I do it? Because I already have a REIT. A REIT is a mature market there in US as well, across the West. And what's the benefits I would get? Right? So now, all the money is going to be digitized in stable coins or CBDC, central bank digital currencies. And it becomes very easy to do settlements, which in technical language we call atomic swaps and everything, right? So how you're paying UPI payment, you can literally buy a piece of a fractional ownership of a real estate from Anand's platform or RealX platform or our clients, because we don't directly sell by ourselves. We are the pipes and the electricity which people don't see us. But we are powering the major marketplaces in the world with this technology. And then so this is the starting point, I would say. And tokenization is essentially the core pillar for making this enabling, right? So as an example, infrastructure. Why can't I buy a green energy infrastructure or a data center? I can with the tokenization. Why can't I buy a parking lot example to Mr. Pramod, what is explained? Yes, we can. And in that also, this is also a pooled scheme. You can also do a pooled scheme and you tokenize the pool itself. You don't need to tokenize the individual parking spot. You can do all sorts of these things. Sorry, I can go on and on, but I think like I just want to take a break there.
Thank you so much. Could I then also, we are touching on the technical aspects as well as the financial innovation space here. When you spoke about, the safety, security, because we all know and hear that blockchain obviously gets with it the safety element of it. But what are the other pillars on which really tokenization, stands on? Because I think like Manish was alluding, the investor comfort probably will come from the aspect of transparency as well as maybe even the regulated status, which will evolve. Right. But what are the other aspects that I think we should touch on?
So SM REIT, right? SM REIT ensures the project is fully constructed. Okay, that means they are not taking greenfield projects. They are not taking like some projects that are not underwritten. So tokenization also will have, already has a way for you to structure the project, bring transparency in the project, whether it's a real estate project as a developer, right, audited by a JLL or a KPMG or a Deloitte, which we are partners with. And then that whole data set is transparently kept on the ledger, right? So the structuring of the project underwriting and the risk analysis of the project has to be there. And then after that, the investor onboarding from a compliance, it has to be hugely compliant. SEBI mandates, I need to use KYC using Aadhaar. You have to do that. There is no shortcuts for it. None of the regulations will be shortcutted in tokenization. Tokenization is not a magic bullet where you're going to take a shortcut. You have to stand by next to the regulator. You have to follow the checklist one by one, everything. But it gives you plethora of benefits beyond that. So KYC, KYB, AML, and also cross-border transactions, and the compliance, the policies, the investor protection has to be there. So Zoniqx provides all of that in the compliance as a backbone, right? And then beyond that, the benefits of tokenization is going to be there. So the asset quality has to be there. The asset seller, which is the sell side, has to be there. The compliance has to be there. And then the buy side, which is the demand side, has to be there. And a vehicle, like a marketplace of RealX or all DRX, kind of vehicles will keep on coming up where you can start doing it, right? And then there is a interoperability between all these guys, whether it's a digital currency and everything. So that is how Zoniqx looks at it, and that is how we've been doing it. And that is the macro scale, and that is how we've been enabling the global rails as well.
Yeah, I just want to add on how the tokenization can develop in the sense, because the biggest issue I think in terms of the Indian regulatory space is how the tokens will be regulated. If at all, let's say it's unregulated right now, we call it unregulated. That doesn't mean it's illegal. There's a difference between legal, illegal, regulated, unregulated. So from that point of view, I think the concern that even from a current tokenization that people like you guys are doing is whether it falls under any kind of regulatory umbrella. For example, like US has very clear principles as to which tokens they will consider as security. So they use the very clear, I'm a security lawyer, so you will talk about the SEC versus Harvey principle, which is very, everybody knows, is when there's a pooling vehicle where the money is pooled, where the investor is investing for returns, not for buying the property and staying in the property, and they don't have control over the affairs of the company. So that basically confess. So in tokenization also, in terms of what US laws regulate, how the US laws regulate is, they say if the tokens create any kind of such rights, is different, will be treated as security. So ownership right is created, seen as security, and therefore, as you rightly said, Reg D example you have to take, because it's security, you have to come under Reg D and then only you can use this ownership tokens, as opposed to utility tokens. Utility tokens are slightly different. Utility tokens are like what Pramod said about parking lots. So let's assume I consolidate all the parking lots in this in Mumbai and issue tokens on that. And so that token will, let's say you, for 10 years, you can use 100 parking spaces anytime you can go and get a parking slot. And people think that that price will increase in 10 years time, so the price of the token will keep increasing. Those kind of utility tokens is where this law is slightly on the side of the tokens, where there is no, it's not security, and therefore SEBI as a regulator will not interfere. RBI as a regulator will not. RBI from the PMLA, KYC, I think once that is sorted, I think from that point of view, tokenization has to be seen from what is regulated, unregulated, whether legal or illegal. That part has to be codified somewhere, and therefore that will build the industry further.
I made a large claim about whatever we do having a legal basis, so probably I'm taking the question. For us, one, we offer two ownership modes. One of them is called property tokens, only because the token is the beholder of that. What we essentially offer inside that is an electronic contract note, just like you have in FNOs and things like that. So we paralleled a lot of things to what exists today, and we built everything that we have built is based on baser laws, something that a regulator also will not be able to, a regulator also has to adhere to when they regulate. So they may regulate us, but the baser laws of real estate will remain the same. Whether a REIT is registering a property, the Registration Act is a Registration Act. So in our case, we took some time, but we built on various provisions that were there inside the various laws, Transfer of Properties Act, Registration Act, Contract Act, IT Act, stamp for taxation, etc. But then, yeah, but then that was a surprise when we received from my lawyer saying that transfer of tokens will not attract stamp duty only because the instrument is digital and there is no physical instrument. So, and that was a bonus. We didn't aim for that. My aim was to ensure that the investor is protected and their rights are protected even from RealX or anybody at RealX, kind of stuff. So we built everything on different provisions that were there, some of the provisions which nobody ever used so far, and then various case laws that had happened. So the whole thing took a huge amount of time when we had discussions about governance. For example, I'll give you one example. I was saying that if the guy transfers it to somebody and that guy doesn't do the KYC, I want to forfeit the number of units that guy has, because I can't have an asset which has become Benami, now. Then the lawyer that was sitting with us said that principles of natural justice are Supreme Court verdicts and you cannot do that because that will be challenged. And then we had to create a full process of how to notify it and at what point you can take it in your suspense account and at what point you can, actually auction it. So it is not that. One is, as I said, unregulated doesn't mean that we have not thought through and doesn't mean that we have not learned from the regulator. We are the eklabs who are learning from the regulator, probably, and at least some of them. So I'm not giving a certificate to everyone here. But, and it takes a whole lot of efforts because the whole onus is on you, to do that. So to answer your question, Anil, I think I've done it twice. So I think there are provisions, the laws are very broad-based, you would know it, and there are provisions wherein if you study it well, you probably will be able to stitch together something where that by and large gives a tick mark. Some of the places, one of the laws or one of the clauses will kind of go into crosshairs with something else, but that is more procedural. And those things, can be taken care of as you get regulated, pictures coming in. But before that also, you can build things legally, is what I was trying to say.
Thank you. That's a very interesting discussion. And maybe I go back to Anil now that we have him, in the discussion, that what are really the legal frameworks that would be the bricks on which this tokenization has to evolve from an India context perspective? Because smart contracts, for example, it has this whole, question marks in terms of how, whether it's legal, not legal, and whilst it's happening, where is it today? To the points like even Manish is alluding, stamp duty. So it's not payable, for example, on digitized form. So is that really the way it's going to evolve? A high-level view would be lovely to hear.
I think this, the whole industry of tokenization will revolve around the rights. See, basically, end of the day, it is a fractional entitlement over an asset or utility or a service or any kind of framework that you build in. It is nothing but a fractional entitlement of rights. And then second comes once you're giving a right. Now, from a real estate perspective, since it's a REIT conclave. So from a REIT, if you talk about real estate, if you create ownership rights over a property, let's say we take one office space, one particular unit, and you divide it into 100 parts and everyone owns one part each. Then let's say, similar to SM REIT, when the rental yields are coming, you're distributing to each of the token holders. The problem is that if you are an owner of the property, then how do you ensure that if I'm selling, because then the Transfer of Property Act will be applicable, whether you have to pay stamp duty on each of the contracts, smart contracts, whether smart contracts have to be registered or not. Then the question comes on the stamp duty payable. There are a lot of real estate laws which have to be followed for ownership rights and transfer of ownership rights. And there are also tax impact on that. So I think there are two buckets you can easily segregate tokens into. One is utility tokens, one is ownership tokens. Ownership tokens is more towards the stage of security. And therefore the SEBI as a regulator will come in. You would have heard there was a case, Cropital, which is again SEBI order, which does similar thing of holding all the LLPs together, coming in as a fractional, giving up a fractional unit of shares where you can make money out of the returns that a particular farm or a jeera farming, etc. you'll make. So SEBI had come after them also. They did nothing doing. This is something called the CIS. So security is nothing but if you call something which is a pooling of vehicle and where people are investing for returns. And even tokenization is the same. What are you investing for? You are investing for the returns that the property will yield. So therefore, to grow, like Manish is saying, there has to be some regulations. There has to be some creation of recognition of these tokens. That these tokens, are just as securities, are these regulated by these laws, and you have to follow ABC structures. Then the ownership tokens can easily, develop. And the advantage that you have is the clearing and settlement, the depositories, that extra 1% cost that you have to pay in the securities market system. You have to go through a broker, you have a demat account, you have a custodian, you have a depository. There are 5 layers that you have to go through to buy a stock and sell a stock and get the money. That gets, demolished in the blockchain technology, where digitized asset, very clear ledger. There's no need to have five people as ecosystem. So that, I think, can only be developed once a regulator comes in and recognizes. Even fractional ownership of real estate, if you see SM REIT, it was at that time unregulated and people were doing it. But then SEBI came into picture and then regulated it, and that's how now it's developing. Similarly, tokenization also, people like them, the entrepreneurs who stick their head out and start doing business, that's when the regulator reacts. Regulators won't react on their own, saying that, okay, fine, there's a business idea, let me create laws around it. The business people who take the ownership risk and create the business, and that's when regulator understands the importance of the business, and there is how the economy can develop because of that business, make laws around it. So I think I'm very optimistic as to how laws will develop around it. I think the entrepreneurs will push and the market will push more and more investors participating. SEBI will, or RBI, one of them will come and regulate this industry.
Lovely, thank you. That's really very comprehensive. And I think, as Mr. Rao was saying, that the IFSCA sandbox experience is probably going to give, perspective or a flavor of how it's going to evolve from an India perspective. May I come to you, Anand? One last aspect in terms of liquidity, because one is obviously investor confidence, the trust element, regulated status as and when it evolves, but the other key element will be liquidity to build the investor trust. So do you think that this is going to help, tokenization is going to help bring liquidity to the real estate market, or it's just cliche and it's too far?
No, of course not. Liquidity is an important part of tokenization. There are 2 elements to it. First element is, let's face reality, it's tokenized market. I mean, is my marketplace deep? No, the answer is it's not deep, it's shallow. But still 20% of the trades that we have done in the last 18 months are secondary trades. People have given liquidity to the guy who bought the token in the primary issuance. The fundamental piece about creating any marketplace is, today everybody is talking about tokenizing the asset. What that means is, mera asset hai, tokenize karo, becho, mera paisa aa gaya. But what happens to the guy who's bought the token? He needs a secondary marketplace, right? So any marketplace needs to have a primary market, which is primary issuance of token, which can learn just from the capital markets. You don't have to do rocket science. Learn from the capital markets, learn from private markets. In private markets today, if somebody has to invest in my company, all DRX, you can't buy one share. You have to buy a lot size of shares. Wait for the secondary markets to open, which is when we go to IPO, God willing, at which point of time you can buy one share also, right? So you have to, in your marketplace, the design has to be primary marketplace, lot sizes, HNI customers come, their capital is used to purchase the asset is registered, stamp duty paid, then the token becomes tradable. Until then, the token is not tradable, right? So at which point of time, once the token becomes tradable, the secondary market guy comes in. He does not have enough money to come in the primary market. Like a common man in IPO, he did not have enough capital to come in the private markets and invest few crores. He comes in the secondary market and buys one square foot, 2 square foot, 3 square foot, right? But the beauty is, people are understanding. 100,000 transactions have been processed. So we are getting there. It continues to be a primary market heavy business, meaning today I have issued more tokens than secondary trading. I mean, 80% of the tokens that we have issued are primary issuance, meaning the first guy has come and bought the token. Only 20% of the tokens are where tokens have changed hands. But hey, listen, that's a beginning, right? So imagine real estate, you buy 10 square foot and after 2 years, you're able to sell 4 square foot out of it.
Thanks. So, Anil, coming to you, maybe a question that how are you seeing the industry? Like, is the industry coming together? Is there a association or a body that is pulling, the asks together, setting some framework in terms of how this should operate? Because the pillars of trust, like regulated status, will come in time. But on its own, like how Manish was alluding, that there will be good players, there will be bad players. So, is there already a body that is kind of evolving under which they're going, or how is it?
I would not be aware. I think these are the entrepreneurs who would be forming associations and building pressure on the regulator.
My answer is, take the first step. See, we are interested parties, but I think neutral parties who listen to everyone, like the chamber, like law firms, etc., are the ones who can take their first initiatives, and we would be very happy to join in. I calling a meeting with Anand, coming there, probably it won't happen. Anand will be too busy to come for the meeting. But you calling a meeting where, all of us are there, probably we'll make it happen. Kind of stuff. So,
I think from a point of view of a regulatory arbitrage that you have to create, I think from point of view, it has to come from the industry push as to what are the needs, and therefore we can then create an ecosystem as to, because it's not one party. Maybe SEBI, you have to go, maybe central government for the taxes and the registration, stamp duty, if there are some exemptions required. It is a wholesome effort. It's not like one entity we have to capture. So
sure.
It'll take some time.
I think just the beauty of the fact that there's an IFSCA and Gift City, I mean, I have not experienced this. About 2.5 years back, when this idea of tokenization germinated, and I was thinking, okay, there are no frameworks in India. So I was sitting in Dubai, and I had met VARA, I had met DFSA, and I was about to register in Dubai. Against every instinct in my bone, I was thinking, oh God, what the hell am I doing? Why am I registering in Dubai? Then I called the board line of IFSCA. The board line, because I knew nobody there. I said, let me try, because in the charter of IFSCA, asset tokenization was there. In their presentation on the charter as to what are the things that they want to regulate, asset tokenization was there. I called the board line, and imagine how the regulators are moving, So I called the board line. They gave me the mobile number of the business development guy in this thing. I got the mobile number. I spoke to him. He said, Anand, can you come next week? I dropped the registration in Dubai. I went to Ahmedabad. The executive director met me. He said, Anand, you come into the sandbox. He understood us and sandbox. Then a few months later, I met the chairman of IFSCA. And in that meeting, he gave me his business card. And I saw his business card. His mobile number was there in his business card. I think that's where the regulators are going. Just to answer, I don't think there is too small an industry for us to form an association and all. I think go directly to the regulators, sir, this is what we are doing. You tell us what is right, what is wrong, what we should do, what we should not do, so that we can come into the house and do the business in your house, rather than staying outside of the house. I think, like Mr. Rao said, I think starting in IFSCA is the right step. Go there, do that business, build comfort. Hopefully, mainstream markets will start getting regulated.
I have a slightly different take on that. Having traversed many regulators, domestic and international, just for perspective, RealX is also under regulatory sandbox of IFSCA. And prior to this, we also traversed the same part, but I had actually gone ahead and gotten sandbox admittance under DFSA, also. So it's unfortunate that we couldn't actualize this because of COVID, that we had to really shift there and we couldn't do that. And then IFSCA happened, and we decided, just like Anand, that why would, if my country is giving me that option and they probably want to create an alternative to Dubai, why would I not, support my national, interest and do it in IFSCA? However, now I'm sticking my neck out and saying, we will not move anywhere practically with IFSCA also until SEBI allows. So the interesting part, and Pramod here will know that. Okay. See, the thing is, they are not isolated regulators. They are together. You have capital markets, team deputed from SEBI. So until the general positive attitude comes from the regulators that, okay, we want to own this. Let's own it not in the mainland and begin owning it at IFSCA. That probably is the first step. Until that happens, we all will remain something under sandbox and moving nowhere. So we need to have a general first steps positive attitude. We perform ourselves, we explain ourselves, we get the opportunity, and then we get more mainstreamed.
I think with a dose of optimism, I should say, there was a recent meeting in Bangalore where IFSCA reps were there. I think, Manish, I don't know, maybe you were traveling or something. The academics were there, FATF was there, everybody was there, The whole conversation was around the consultation paper released by IFSCA. And can we submit some industry comments? That was the objective of it. The regulator was at full strength, which is IFSCA. The summary of that meeting was, IFSCA's executive director said, this will become a reality. Okay? Give us time. I think that's the note at which it ended. Okay, a few months here, a few months there, it's something new. I mean, investor interest is at their heart. I think we should see it from their perspective also. Last thing that you need is a thief to be let into the house. So they have to be watchful. You have to empathize with that perspective. But I think regs will come. Manish, get regulated only. That's the only choice we have.
Yeah. So this is obviously a very important point in time because you're still in an unregulated status, and one bad actor or one bad kind of apple in the basket can, put you 10 steps behind. Maybe something to think about from a chamber's perspective, BCCI, to maybe set up a thought leadership roundtable and take it forward. I know we are quite running out of time, so I'm just going to go, across, starting with you, Prasanth, wish list, right? So very briefly, like in a minute, what is it that you really is your ask, right?
We are here. We want to do business in India. And we've been looking at this space, and our advisor is sitting in the audience, and he is also based in Mumbai. So we are getting so many requests for tokenization of assets, from real estate to infrastructure to energy. And today, our stance has been the IFSCA route, which is still in sandbox. The other one is like set up outside a fund, tokenize a fund, deploy the capital, has been a stance that we've been taking, and then which we are going to announce a few projects in India very soon. And the wish list is really, I think, the regulators have been doing an amazing work, because my co-founder met SEBI's chairman in 2018, when it was very early. But now IFSCA has done a phenomenal job, and I've heard from the regulator also. The wish list is that India should not be left behind, and that is one of my key and foremost wish, leaving business and everything aside, because I'm born and raised in India, went to school here, everything here. So I definitely want India to be leading the digital assets realm, from stable coins to everything else. Tokenization is a small piece of that whole big picture. And I think we should not be left behind, because we are doing a phenomenal job outside India, and we are doing a phenomenal job inside India also. So I think we are here to do whatever it takes for us to work with regulators, bring our experience across the world to be part of India. So we are committed to India, and we believe that we are very close to coming to that line.
Lovely.
That's my wish list.
Lovely. Thank you. The lawyer's wish?
I think as a securities market practitioner, we deal with SEBI a lot, I think. And what we should think is that what this tokenization brings is a huge uplift in technology, and will minimize a lot of securities law issues that we face, fraud, insider trading, a lot of issues that we face, which is due to the information asymmetry and the various intermediaries that you have to go through to reach the same thing, like you're buying a stock, there are 5 intermediaries involved before you buy a stock. So I am trying to say is that SEBI should look at it as from an open mind as to how the entire industry of security industry can be shifted to a tokenized industry, which will actually maybe a lot of jobs, or people will be out of jobs, the entire industry, financial services industry, which is built around it. But what I'm trying to achieve is that regulators should see it as from an open perspective as to how we can use this technology to build the laws around it, rather than thinking that this is a disruptor and and we have to be very cautious about what these guys are doing. Rather than that, I think the perspective should be how should we accept, embrace technology and create systems around the technology towards ensuring the primary purpose, of course, SEBI is to investor protection. The whole investor protection is, as long as investor protection is taken care of, I don't think token or security, no matter what terminology you use, I think business should precede everything else. And of course, investor protection should be at the heart of all kind of regulations that you make.
Thank you.
I just have one wish list. I would like for an innovation sandbox to be available in SEBI. So today's sandbox in SEBI is only for regulated entities. So I'm not a regulated entity, I'm not a bank, I'm not a broker. So can there be an environment where I can come into the sandbox and say, sir, this is what I'm doing, you know? And I'm willing to operate within the boundaries that are set, you know, whatever is discussed. And I think that's the right way most regulators around the world are looking at approaching innovative things. So if that sandbox mechanism is there, it's easier to get it.
Yeah, you know, so my long and short answer is give me some sunshine, give me some space and allow us a level playing field that we can innovate from India in fintech and probably lead the world, you know, in that space.
Thank you. Do we have time for 1 or 2 questions? 2 questions, okay. We're happy to take questions, everybody.
First question gets a token free.
Any questions?
There's one.
No? Thank you. Oh, there is one.
Hey, thank you for a great session today. I have met Prasanth almost 1.5 years back while I was planning to tokenize bullion gold. And we came down to the fact that India won't be a starting point, and we moved to Singapore, Singapore to Bahrain, Bahrain to play. So just to understand, while we all aspire as entrepreneurs that this technology which the world is harnessing, what could be the mechanisms where we could create a hybrid structure till next 5 years, till the regulations come in place, that we could take the Indian markets also to participate with regulations coming or the entities coming from outside and participate, and how things could be moving ahead in that space between the hybrid play. So let's say when all DRX says that we got regulated in Qatar and now we have facilities to provide to Indian audiences to buy square feet, which we were not able to earlier buy. What could be the structures which we could take in place so that Indian audiences could participate, and also the tax mechanisms around that? For a simple example, let's say we get the clearance from Central Bank of Bahrain to tokenize bullion gold, and we have the storage with JP Morgan Singapore's vaults, or maybe somebody here as a custodian here. So could Indian audiences participate? And if they do the transactions, and so what could be the simple tax implications for the such kind of transaction here? That's a simple question, if not too complicated and to be answered. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, as long as it's a regulated product outside and it's treated as a security, if the Bahrain market treats the token as a security, LRS allows resident Indians to invest overseas in securities that are listed outside. You know, so it's allowed. There are limits and there are some. It's not a straight-through process. A little bit of paperwork is there, but it's allowed. You know, so as long as it's security. But if the product outside is unregulated, then LRS cannot happen. So It's just black and white. There is no gray there. So I'm not a tax expert, so.
And it's similar to the international securities which you're investing in. So that could be a hybrid for Indian participants to come in regulated place. Okay, that more or less sums up what my question is, that we can participate. We need more people to innovate products, and hope we can do it from Indian entities at a regulated player also. Thank you.
So my question is, like, as token is not regulated in India as of now, and we are doing some assets which are there in India. So maybe like if Pramod sir can please tell how these assets which are being sold as on date, what mechanism works on that?
Is that a question? Okay, so in the absence of regulations does not mean that there is no law applicable. Regulatory licensing structure is not there, but there are hundreds of other laws applicable. There is company law, there is private placement, there is CIS, there is contracts. Like for example, he's taken a position that stamp duty need not be paid. I've taken a position that boss, pay whatever tax you paid. So when a token is transferred, the token transfer document is stamped in my case, but stamped as a movable property. Stamp duty allows you to cost whether the underlying asset is it movable or immovable. So it is a movable property, so we pay stamp duty. So so the next question is, token a security or is token a VDA? So we've taken a position that token, because it's not a security, there's nothing called token in India, number one. So anyway, whatever is the underlying instruments, capital structure that you're using, so we say it is VDA, pay 1% TDS. Tell the customer, sir, if you come into my marketplace, if you want to buy 1 square foot, when you sell, you pay full 30% tax. So it doesn't make your product very attractive, but you stay within the red lines. Don't cross the red lines. We don't do under construction assets. For example, the biggest problem in real estate is what? Arey project hi nahi banaya, token ke niche project nahi hai, token ke niche square foot nahi hai. Don't do. Take only ready assets and do. So hence, long and short of it is, I think, just because licensing structure is not there does not mean what you're doing is illegal. So you have to find out what are the legal red lines, stay within that.
Amit, I'll give you another example. You would understand as a CA. When you do private investment transactions, you do what is something called shareholder agreement. Now, if you go and find out, the whole company law does not talk about shareholder agreement at all. There is no law in company law talking about shareholder agreement. That does not make it illegal to have shareholder agreements. Therefore, laws are more broad-based. You can utilize the law, and create constructs, which make your legal, thing viable under the existing laws. So that's another connotation I will say. Shareholder agreement, everybody agrees, everybody professes, everybody does, but the company law has no mention of that at all. How you do it is you integrate it into your articles and things like that. So there are ways in which you can make legal structures based on baser laws.
Thank you.
I think that's really been a very engaging discussion. I hope you all benefited from it as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, experts, for this informative interaction. A round of applause for our speakers, please. Now I invite Mr. Khosla to please present mementos to our speakers as our token of appreciation. Come on, a round of applause for the speakers, please, loudly. Cheer up. Thank you, Ms. Tandon, moderating so well this panel. Thank you so much. One group photo, please. I request Mr. Kosa to please stay back and please deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Priya. So we come to an end of today's very, very informative and interactive session on REITs and asset tokenization. And I'm sure you all will all go back with a lot of knowledge from what is transpired today. My special thanks to Mr. Pramod Rao, who's here and who gave his perspective on this. He's the one who initiated this with the chamber, and we've done 3 of these, right from SME REITs to REITs. And we'll continue to engage the industry in doing many more of these as we go along. And Mr. Vajpayee for his perspective. And to all of you, thank you for coming. And hopefully we will do many more of these. So please also write to us with feedback as to is there any other topics which you all would like to listen to, and we would try and organize those. Again, for all those who are not members, we would request you to become members of the chamber, contribute to the chamber, helping the industry grow, as well as helping MSMEs. That's one of the key areas which the chamber now works on. And looking forward to all of you interacting with us much, much more. So thank you once again to our speakers, to our moderators for moderating this very well, and to all you people who came here on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you.